In this video, we're going to be talking about how Jonathan Taylor is the #1 running back in Dynasty, more likely the #1 player overall, and I'm going to shed that case to you right now. What's going on, guys? Bruce Mattson, your host of the show, Metric Scout Fantasy Football, and the show that talks about Dynasty Fantasy Football, redraft, DFS, all things NFL pretty much. And right now, I've been digging deep in the Dynasty side, getting you guys ready for startup drafts, rookie drafts, and everything. Right now, though, I'm going to be talking about Jonathan Taylor and why you should invest in him as the #1 player overall in Dynasty and the RB1, because he is an immaculate athlete, generational talent. And that standpoint, he's not really being slept on, but he's kind of is. On that perspective, you're talking about a guy who weighs 226 pounds, ran a 4.39 40-yard dash. That's a 99th percentile, size adjusted speed score. The guy is burst. The guy is fast, has good vision. We've seen that at Wisconsin. We see it solid on field this year at Indianapolis. Mind you, his collegiate profile, he had a 41% dominator rating at 6.3 yards per carry, and also had 10% target share. So he was used in Wisconsin's anemic passing game. It just didn't equate the volume. They're at college. Remember, he almost had 3 straight 2,000 yards rushing seasons, 3 straight 2,000 all-purpose yard seasons, however, and rushed for 6,174 yards and 50 touchdowns. The guy was just straight balling. So the profile here, going into the NFL, just to backtrack to this, we have a guy with elite level production, breaking out at age 18, high dominator rating, then came to the combine, ran a 4.39. Mind you, at the Scouting Institute, they're pumping up numbers for Rashad Bateman, Tylan Wallace with the 4.39, much smaller athletes, fake numbers. Jonathan Taylor's doing a real thing at 226 pounds. And we're not making a big deal about that. We're still not making a big deal about that in 2021. Mind blown. Mind blown. Jonathan Taylor is a specimen. The big thing coming out, the big thing people were against on him when he was coming out of college, going into the NFL, was his receiving ability. This guy averaged 10.3 yards after the catch per reception, negative 1.4 ADOT, which means he's getting yards after the catch every time he touches the ball, catching the ball in the flat, which is where we projected him to be catching the ball at, because he's got that 4.39 speed, burst, and size to break tackles. Just a check down artist. Get him the ball in space, get him up to speed, and he's good as gone. He's tough to tackle. He's getting up to 20, 23 miles per hour every time he can get to full speed. He's averaging 1.47 yards per route run, which is one of the highest of the rookie running backs last year, the ones that were getting full workloads or scalable workload. Catching balls out of the backfield, caught 36 passes for 299 yards. He only caught 407 yards off of 42 passes his entire collegiate career, where he was the bulldozer for that team. He's a better receiving threat than what was advertised from big draft media. I knew this going in because I knew how he would be used. They'll see that speed, they'd see him use that speed in open space, and they're not going to be able to deny it. Of course, there was times where he was sharing workload with Nyheim Hines, scared some people, but remember, it's his rookie season, and you have to be patient. And he showed off eventually. He was productive. He had 3 100-yard games. Week 17, I know it was against Jacksonville, had a 253-yard game in Week 17. Week 17 doesn't really count either because it's the last week of the season. No one starts all their starters, and it's Jacksonville. I get it, but it did happen. Rushed for over 1,000 yards, 1,169 yards, 11 touchdowns. That's enough to geek out about right there. 15 carries at 15-plus yards, 2.95 yards after contact per attempt, forced 41 missed tackles, and 685 yards after contact. He had a great season statistically, advanced metric-wise in the receiving and run game. There's nothing more he really could have did other than just came out week 1, week 2, week 3, and just blew up and just kept going. But he showed enough. He showed more than enough. He's on pace for year 2 season to be one of the top running backs in the league. And talent-wise, he already is. He's 22 years old, young player. That's why we want to invest in a player like this. And we want to invest early. And right now, it's kind of too late. He's got an ADP of 3.33, second running back off the board. So me saying he's the RB1, me saying he should be valued as the number 1 player isn't really a hot take because it's not far off. And I'm the only ranker at DOF that has him as the number 1 player in the top 250 Dynasty rankings. The only one that has him as the RB1. And I understand why people don't. Because Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey are both studs. They are both pristine prospects. There's nothing bad about those players. There's nothing bad about Jonathan Taylor either. Except for he only has 1 season in the league, and there's a lot of unknown about him, and you just want to play it safe. You want to snuggle up in that warm blanket, that Saquon Barkley pillow, and that warm Christian McCaffrey blanket and feel safe. But you got the unknown Jonathan Taylor. We don't have 2-3 years of production with him. Well, Saquon Barkley plays for the Giants. That franchise has been in shambles. He's been injured lately, last 2 years. Hasn't been himself. Looked like a once-in-a-lifetime prospect coming out of Penn State. Showed that his rookie season. But injuries has been biting him left and right. That injury bug has been a nuisance to us and him. However, Jonathan Taylor, when you look at his profile, you got a guy who's rushed for over 6,000 yards in college, 50 touchdowns, almost 3 straight 3,000-yard seasons, and then has almost a similar athletic profile to Saquon Barkley, 4.39 40, 226 pounds, and then demonstrated he can catch the ball in the backfield. What's the really big difference here? Saquon Barkley is a better receiver. He is more agile, runs laterally a little better. Jonathan Taylor's younger. You're resetting the clock a little bit. Jonathan Taylor hasn't had any mess of injuries yet on his career. I say yet because most running backs that get a ton of workload has that. Jonathan Taylor's on a better franchise, better offensive line, a team that wants to build, a team that doesn't make drastic mistakes often. The Giants can't stop from stumbling all over themselves. The Giants are in purgatory almost, like forever. It seems like. Jonathan Taylor, young running back, has all the boxes checked. Just can't be scared to not put him up there with the top RBs. He's already up there. My case here is pretty much daunting on that. So I can see why I should have him over Barkley. I can see why someone else could have Barkley over him. Barkley's been in the league a little better. He is a little bit more fluid of an athlete from an agility standard, and he is more dynamic in the passing game because he can do more things. Christian McCaffrey, on the other hand, we're talking about a guy who's 24 years old, going to be 25 soon, and project that out a couple years from now, he's going to be an older running back. If you draft him in the startup, think about 2 years from now, he's going to be that old running back soon. When you draft a guy in a startup draft, when they're in those middle years, I call them kind of middle years, they're kind of young, but you kind of see it coming. You got to count those future years, especially the next year and the year after that, at least the next 2, next year. You got to kind of look year forward. Say you don't win your first year. You say you don't win your league year 1. Well, now you got Christian McCaffrey plus a year to win your league. Kind of weird way to look at it, but you're also paying for those years. He's not a depreciating asset. He's still one of the top running backs in the league, but he's also not 22 years old. He's also had an injury-plagued season. He also plays for the Panthers. I like that situation more than Saquon Barkley's. They got Joe Brady calling the plays, higher volume passing offense. They have better receiving threats. They're in the mix of upgrading at QB, but he's not getting younger. It's also still a skeptical situation because the team's not putting it together. However, he's in a position where he's using the passing game a lot. You just don't know when that other shoe's going to drop. And I'm not saying to avoid him because I'm probably taking him right after Jonathan Taylor if Jonathan Taylor's gone. So I'm still paying that premium price tag. But why go after Christian McCaffrey? Why spend your first pick on him When you can reset a couple years, get a guy who's in his second year of his career, who's been healthy, who checks all the boxes. He's just as athletic. He's athletic in a different way, where Christian McCaffrey's more quicker than fast, but still fast, elusive. Jonathan Taylor's got that straight line track speed, size-adjusted track speed. They're different, but they're both amazing in their own ways. They're both stellar. So they both check all the boxes. You just got a younger version over here. You don't have those years of experience that you're paying for on Jonathan Taylor that make you feel comfortable. However, you got the athleticism, you got the ability, you got the vision, you got the receiving prowess, you got the ability to make big yards after contact, ability to score from anywhere on the field. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey, just a little bit different in different ways. And you're resetting the clock. Resetting the clock's big in Dynasty because that insulates your value on that player. It makes that player a little less risky, even though none of these three players are risky, Barkley, McCaffrey, or Jonathan Taylor. They're all good players. But when you're pulling hairs here, when you're looking with the magnifying glass, you gotta account for everything. McCaffrey, though, has proven that he can score 30 fantasy points a game for weeks on end, be an RB1, and just be a plug-and-play guy. Jonathan Taylor hasn't been in the league long enough to prove anything yet. That is the devil's advocate opposition to that. And that's why a lot of people would go Christian McCaffrey over him. The thing, though, when you question that is how much longer is he going to be able to do that? How much longer will he give you 30-plus point PPR point games weekly? How much longer that's going to be? You think that's going to be for 2 more years, 3 more years? Because I'm going to tell you, running backs, players who play on a high level, they sometimes drop off the table quick. Sometimes they don't. Or it could be a gradual downturn. As he gets older, we could see him start getting injured up a little bit more. Jonathan Taylor's fresh legs. 226-pound monster running 4.39 40-yard dash, catching the ball in the backfield, and has already proven it from year one. Sharing the backfield. Has a 1,000-yard season on his name. Double-digit touchdown season. I know there was some up and downs during that year. Mind you, he only played in 15 games that year. He only played in 15 games during his rookie season. It's not even a full 16. He exceeded 1,000 yards. Already, I respect all these players. I want all these players. I want to draft all these players heavy. I have a major preference for Jonathan Taylor. And I will go out of my way to make sure I have him on all my teams in every single league. And that's not going to happen because no one's going to give him up for free. And there's a reason why no one's going to give him up for free, because he is an elite level running back. Just like the other previously mentioned players. It sounds like I trashed them a little bit, but I'm not. They're still good. They're still worthy of being top 3 picks. It's just I got my preference of the top 3, and that's Jonathan Taylor. And he's going to be my guy for a long time. Thank you for watching the show. Make sure you click that subscribe button, ring the bell, tell your homies so you don't miss an episode. Help me out on that algorithm, and I'll catch you next time.